Hey everybody, it's me, Nicole Rivera from the Stop Writing Alone writing community, and here on the MV Rivera YouTube channel, usually sharing writing prompts and exercises to get you writing all year round. But what I started doing this year also is giving you a behind the scenes look at some of the stuff that we do in the Stop Writing Alone community. We've talked about writing practice. We've talked about, goodness, my brain. What else did we talk about? A poetry prompt party. We've talked about a poetry prompt party. But one of the things that's been going on a lot this year is there's been lots of different ways that we've been reading together. In fact, if you head on over to stopwritingalone.substack.com, you'll see that this weekend I kind of expanded it and asked the writers of the Stop Writing Alone community to share their links with us so that we could read each other's writing. And there's just been such a great response. So if you want to read some of your writing community members' writing, or if you want to share a link of your own of where we could read your writing, please head on over. It's a Saturday share. I will put a link in the little doobly-doo. I'm still digging through reading all of the stories, and I've been having a great time doing it, but I would welcome some more for sure. But today I want to talk to you about some of the meetings that we have that are surrounded by reading, where reading is our focus. We're doing the Artist's Way study group this year, which is reading through and doing the exercises in that book. And of course, later on in this month, we are going to be having a discussion about the book's craft in the real world and the anti-racist writing workshop. And those are both reading first sort of meetings. But one of the first meetings that really started to develop in the Stop Writing Alone community around this whole idea of reading and immersing ourselves in story is Story Club. And Story Club kind of is like, gets lost in the weeds sometimes. I think people aren't really sure what we're doing. Basically, what I was looking for was a way to start studying story. And I was looking for a structure to do that. You know, I'm here as like a co-learner with you, and I want to like go along and study story. And there's so many wonderful books on craft, and we've talked about and read some of them together in community. But it was a couple of years ago on one of my trips to Florida to see family. We went to the Books A Million store because we don't have one of those up here. And I found this book, The 27 Essential Principles of Story. And so what I did is I, picked up the book for myself, started reading it through, and decided, you know what, I don't want to read this book alone. I don't know if I have this obsession with not wanting to do things alone. I don't know. But this was a book that I just wanted to be able to discuss with people. Because the way the book is organized, as it says, it's 27 different principles of story. It's broken into 27 different chapters. And every single chapter has a different lesson in it, whether it's about character or setting, plot. The book is actually broken into sections. And so within each lesson, for example, the next lesson that we're going to be doing in February, I think. Where are we up to here? Nope, that's what we just did. So the next chapter is the beginning of part 3. We're in the final section of the book now. The essential principles of setting, dialogue, and theme. And the next lesson that we're going to be looking at is chapter 20, link inextricably to your setting. And so what Rubin does in this book is that he gives you this lesson, he gives you a quick take. So this is like a really like bare bones sort of cliff notes. What is he talking about here? But then he goes into further depth, and every chapter follows the same model of how it works. And so he's really describing now, what does he mean by this? He'll even do very often bullet points of like things that we should be doing in our writing if we want to accomplish this particular thing in our writing. But then this was really the kicker and what sold me on this book and doing it in community. This section on how a master did it. Now we can discuss the issue with the words of using master, but the idea is that every single chapter has a story that exemplifies, so it's basically your exemplar story of the month, exemplifies the lesson that Rubin is trying to talk about. So he's giving you cliff notes. He's describing in detail how he feels this lesson is accomplished. But then he takes a story that's out there that we can either read or view, because we've got, if you see the subtitle of the book, it says, Master the Secrets of Great Storytelling from Shakespeare to South Park. So there's movies in here. There's video games. There was I think a stand-up, a song, all different types of story. And he does an incredible job. One of Rubin's strengths in this book is his synopsis of what he calls a master story. So you don't really have to read the story if you didn't, or watch the movie if you didn't see it. But for me, Story Club means doing exactly that. So for the next chapter, the exemplar story is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wu by Junot Diaz. And so I've purchased a copy of the book because before next month, I'm not only going to read this chapter 18 of what Rubin is telling us is this lesson on within this topic of setting. I'm going to read this book, which I've never read before. So I've been going through this entire book with this this plan to expose myself to all of these stories, and inviting the community of Stop Writing Alone to do the same. And it's completely up to everybody that participates, whether or not they want to just stick to the synopsis and then come and join in the discussion about the lesson each month, or if they want to be a nutcase like me and grab the book, read the chapter, and then engage in the discussion. So, I mean, and every single month has been different. Last month we did Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, which is a short story. So that's not a huge thing to take on if you want to do that. Finally, the chapter after he does his synopsis of how the lesson is exemplified in the story of the month, he then runs down how you do it, gives some tips on how to include this type of writing in your own work, and then what I call the controversial mini final exam. I always have issues with the mini final exam. But there's like a question to see, did you learn it? And then continuing education gives us like another story, a movie, or something that further exemplifies the lesson of the month. So what is Story Club? When we come together for that 1 hour meeting every month, it's a discussion about the lesson. It's a discussion about the story of the month. And so it's a reading, it's an extended book club, right? Because we could call it a book club for this book, but we're going chapter by chapter, doing it really, really slow motion. But then depending on how intensely you want to take this on, it's also a book club discussion on the various stories of the month. And again, sometimes that's a book, sometimes it's a short story, sometimes it's a television show. I think March is a television show. We had early on in Story Club, Pulp Fiction was one of the master stories, and we actually tried to do an online group viewing of the movie. That's not easy to do, it seems, but we did it. We made it happen. So what we're doing is we're all interested in learning about how to write better, or how to bring our stories to a wider audience. And there's so many different books on craft, and it's wonderful that we can fill our shelves with them and we can read them, but that of course that is amplified when we can have a discussion with fellow writers about the lessons that we're learning or we're not really understanding, and bounce them off each other. I'm very much open to discourse about these things, and we do have honest to goodness conversations about this lesson is not serving me or my story, or I really love this one, I can see how I can use it right now. So it's not that this is our Bible and we're going to say like everybody's got to write exactly this way. We come together in Story Club to truly discuss the strengths and what we might find weaknesses of each of the lessons. And it's not to say that the lesson is weak, but if it does not serve us, it's not it's not a strong lesson for our writing. To that end, I will say, and this is a discussion that comes up very often when we're talking about the other books that we're reading this month, like Craft in the Real World and the Anti-Racist Writing Workshop. I don't know why that's such a mouthful for me. These principles of story are very much steeped in Western told stories, thinking hero's journey, thinking, you know, of course, Hollywood. As you can see, we're talking about South Park here, as I told you, Pulp Fiction. So that's where we have these discussions and say, well, you know, am I writing a story that's going to fit the typical hero's journey? If so, then this is stuff that applies to me. But if I'm not, it's just, you know, I can nerd out on this stuff. I'm just always interested in studying story anyway. So it always ends up being a really, really great discussion, whether or not we fully agree with the lesson, or we enjoyed or did not enjoy the story of the month. So that's what's happening every single month. It's a book club. It's a 27 book club, 27 books book club, but it's 1 month at a time. There used to be, when we first got started, writing exercises and things that I would try to create a writing exercise that would complement the lesson of the month. And so if you head over to stopwritingalone.substack.com, you will see the story club tab does have lots more posts. It ended up that wasn't serving the community and the people that were showing up at the time as much as it seemed like it would. The discussion itself was more than enough and more than what we needed. So, and I did mention that we're at the tail end of this book. We're in part 3. So this is something that's actively going on now at the beginning of 2024, but probably will not last throughout the year. We will evolve Story Club, and we have already started discussing like what might be our next book of focus, our monthly focus, to continue these types of discussions. But you're really looking at this going on all the way through probably September right now. So as long as you're watching this video before then, check out our calendar of events and see when the next Story Club meeting is, and feel free to join us. On the calendar of events, I'll always put what chapter we're up to and what the story of the month is, so that you can join in if that's, you know, what you want, if you want to read it and go fully in. And that's pretty much it. I will say I'm always open to discussing any of the stories or lessons that came before. So if you catch me and you say, I really want to talk about that lesson number 8, or let's talk about Frankenstein. You know, I'm really happy that I've been reading all of these stories. That's one of those classics that I hadn't read, and I don't know when I would have ever gotten it off my TBR list, but it was one of the books in here, and so now it's been read. I've done it. And it's the same. I'm very much looking forward to this reading, because, you know, Diaz is an author that I've been wanting to read for so long. And, you know, you put it on your TBR, and when do you get to it? I get to it now, because now I have to discuss it. So you're more than welcome to join us. This is part of the paid subscribers events that happen over at Stop Writing Alone. If you haven't looked at it, there are free events over in Stop Writing Alone every single month. And there's free posts that come to you through the Substack as well. So just being a subscriber over there, there's plenty of value coming to you just for being a free subscriber. This is one of the events, though, that would be part of the paid subscription. And the paid subscription right now is $15 per month. Or if you want to just pay in advance for the entire year, that's $150 for the year. So it's like 2 months free. The other thing is with Substack, which is really great, is that whenever you sign up, you always get a first week free to sort of try things out. So I always try to tell people, like, take a look at the calendar and see if there's a week that's like really has like maybe 2 or 3 of the meetings you want to try out, and sign up then and come to the meetings and see if it's something that you want to do. And then you can make the decision if you want to continue on from there. But I really do think once you join in and start doing these activities, as long as they're not taking away from your writing time, I feel like they're always going to help inspire and just feed your writing and help you get to the next level. Not only with the content that we're discussing and the things that we're getting exposed to as we move forward, but also with just being with other writers and having these discussions. It's so often that we come out of these meetings with like that next great idea and how to tweak that thing. And our discussions will lead into that as well. If you have a question that arises in your writing as a result of something that you've read here, we pull it out to the group. Let's talk about it right now. So it's all about not writing alone anymore, and that having the community that surrounds you and supports you in that moment. So again, it's the links will all be here for you, but it's Stop Writing Alone on Substack, and the way the Substack websites work is stopwritingalone.substack.com. And please do go check out this Saturday's share, because it was so great to see such a good response to it. I've been wanting to read what everybody's been writing, and I feel like I ask for it casually here and there, and maybe people just didn't believe me that I really do want to read what you're writing. So I just like flat out said it. This is all this post is about. Give me links to what you've written, and it's filled up, and it's been a blast. So go check it out. That will be happening on the regular. Probably at least once per month, we'll ask for another share to see what new thing everybody's been writing, and so that we can fill up our brains with more wonderful fiction. And it doesn't have to be fiction. I've read some poetry this week, essays, all the good stuff. All right, I'm going to go. I'm rambling. I've had too much coffee, but Story Club, 27 Essential Principles of Story. We're muscling through. We're on chapter 20 in February, and it just exposes you to a lot of different stories and a lot of different forms and mediums of story. So it's been a really great journey thus far, and I would love you to join us for the rest of the way. In the meantime, happy writing, and I hope to talk to you again later this week. Head to stopwritingalone.substack.com to join today for more live events and writing inspiration all year round.